Okay, welcome back. So, similarly to previously, I have to re-record all the audio for this section of the game. Last time we left off, I just finished collecting peers from the Kibombo section. Thanks to him and his recollected black sphere, we can now have access to his ship. Today I reckon we were finishing up with this section. Gonna run through the ship, collect whatever I can, beat the monsters inside. Then we'll travel through the ocean a little bit. For someone who didn't grind, this section of the game was particularly difficult for me. The basic slime jellies, these ones here, they were about as useless to me, against me, as most basic enemies were. Which is to say, totally. A one-on-one enemy like this doesn't stand up much to synergy. It became a bit more difficult once I fought more of them over and over and over. But with healing items, I basically didn't worry. The only real trouble comes along when you have to fight the boss. I had to stack my Jin and my summons just to make sure I could deal any kind of significant damage to the thing, because I was really underleveled. I don't know if that means I was better at games when I was younger, that I could get as far as I did with no power leveling, but I just know it took me way too long to finish this game than it was necessary to, and it was entirely because of the puzzles, and not because of the boss fights. If you set Frost to one of your quick select buttons early in this dungeon, then you'll speed up the whole process a lot quicker. Save yourself a bit of time, basically. At this point I realized that at my current level there was no need to use actual synergy against the aqua jellies, so I could save it for Piers using his frost ability, like that, and inevitably when we fought the boss monster. I'm not sure if it's specifically... No, it wasn't. In the first game, Garrett, your fire adept, Mars adept, he could use move as well. So it's a bit interesting that in this case the main character is the only one who can use it. I suppose it makes sense. They would be the only ones who learned how to use it. Jenna wouldn't have learned if she was focusing on a different aspect of her synergy. Piers wouldn't have learned it, because I don't think anyone in Lemuria really needed that kind of synergy. Oh yes, that lever in the corner there, it's mostly just to raise that platform again. If you didn't do that puzzle correctly, then the platform would fall whenever you tried walking over it. All those basic items, oil drops, weasel claws, ice powders, whatever they're called, they just deal basic damage. It's like casting a AoE synergy attack. They're reasonably powerful, but ultimately worthless. Almighty Thor. Increasing their elemental abilities whenever you use a summon. I never capitalized on that as much as I just used the summons normally. Because I know it does actually improve your synergy a lot if you do it. An okay idea is actually to give Piers the Beast Tamer's whip in this fight, if you have it already. Or if you received it when you were in the desert earlier. His Mercury synergy is worthless against a water enemy. It does like 50% less damage. It's crazy. It's the main reason why I have Terra equipped with the Mysterious card. It gives him a lot of extra Mars attacks and they're super useful against it. So if you were playing the first game, you'd understand how this puzzle works. But if you, like me, didn't really play the first game until after this one, it took me a little while to figure out how to do anything there. Because up until now I never needed to use the Douse synergy, not really. But in the first game, Douse was actually it was an integral part of the entire system. They even gave you 2 additional synergy stones. The one was the Douse Drop, and I think the Frost Jewel. You could equip them onto any of your other adepts, and each of them could use those to their fullest. Just in case, like this game, you equipped Jin that countered your basic synergy. Alright, so in this section, right here where I'm pointing, this is the area from the first game. It's actually a lot bigger than I ever thought it was. But when you're playing the first game, after playing the second game, you wonder why there's so little. Like right here, that's where the Venus Lighthouse was. That section over there is, I think, the end of the game. There's actually no way to get back there. There's apparently a small glitch you can use to run around in the area, but you can't enter any of the buildings or anything. But basically, now that we have the ship, we never have to pay ridiculous amounts for sleeping ever again. Because I can just run over here and pay the smallest possible amount for an inn. Once we unlock Lemuria, it becomes ridiculous. Lemuria has a lovely fountain in the middle of it. The fountain actually grants you full life and synergy just for speaking to it. Or more accurately, drinking from it, but there's no drinking animation, I think. There are a lot of small islands in the area, and most of them are actually part of this adventure game style fetch quest. We have to find an item in one section, speak to an animal, or read its mind more accurately. Then it gives you another item. That cow over there gives you a fancy kerchief, I think. Ooh, no, it gives you milk. You have to give it the fancy kerchief. It gives you milk. You give the milk to a puppy. The puppy gives you a baby turtle. You give the baby turtle to a big turtle later on, and he takes you to Treasure Island. Treasure Island being a end game dungeon that unlocks a super boss as well as a high level summon, possibly Daedalus. But the only way to do it is with the sand synergy, which you get in Gaia Rock. The strongest enemies I can currently fight that I'll be grinding with later are the ones on the ice plateau due south. This section is also worthless to me until I have the pretty stone, which I get for helping some penguins. Where are those penguins? They're south. The penguins are south as well. You give the pretty stone to that parrot that's flying around. He gives you the neckerchief, and so on and so forth. Pausing. Alright, back to it. This is going to make one weird video. I think after investigating those two little islands, the best plan would be just to go straight. Yes, I'll go to the Forge Master. It's best to capitalize on whatever tier stone you might have collected before you got here. Get that stardust nice and early, and the weapon that you can make out of it. Pausing. Continuing. Alright, this right here is the solution to the whirlpool puzzle. It's really tricky if you've never been here. First time I went through the whirlpools, I didn't know what I was doing. I just pooped myself right back out the bottom of it. But as soon as I found this place, I knew exactly what it meant. They refer to Yep as if he's some named character, some real person. But I've never actually seen him, and I don't think he actually appears in any of the games. Maybe he does, maybe I've forgotten him, but this is actually a really clever way to make sure that characters or players who play the game get through the more difficult puzzles. Each of the tree stumps is a little volcano that controls the waves. You go around with the correct direction, the correct number of times, and it takes you in the correct direction. It opens up the way. I think those little stones are the whirlpools, and the big stone, yeah, the tree stumps are the volcanoes. This positioning is a little funny to me, because in the actual section, there's a big gap between the two, those two ending tunnels. The sun is Poseidon, by the way. In all honesty, when I do this section, I'm going to ignore this completely and just run aimlessly around. These are the kids wailing on Poseidon, by the way. It would be interesting if those three trees at the top of the sun represent the trident you're supposed to use to kill Poseidon. But honestly, there's no way for me to know. See them? 1, 2, 3, as in trident. They could also represent the 3 towers you have to go to collect the trident pieces. But for now, we have more important things to worry about. There's actually no point in increasing their armor right now. And no new weapons to speak of. So the best way to get improved equipment here is to speak to Sunny. I'm calling him Sunny. I don't know if that's actually his name. The Tear Stone gives you a couple of different items, but the Spirit Ring is the most useful of them all. Yeah. It heals all your people for about 150 HP. Doesn't do anything else, but when you start facing off against things like Poseidon, they do a lot of AoE attacks. It hits everyone in your party and usually does about 100 to 150 damage. So without an item like that, you're pretty much going to get your arse handed to you immediately. 2 turns, basically. Poseidon attacks twice in a turn, once with the basic attack, once with Watery Grave, which uses intermittently. What's interesting is, in all of these games, I never really bothered to learn patterns. It actually helped me out a lot more if I knew how patterns worked. If I fought a boss and the boss said, you know, first I'm going to hit you in the face, then I'm going to do an AoE attack, then I'm going to hit you in the face again, and then I'm going to charge around the room. Understanding things like that lets you know what to plan for. But more often than not, especially in real-time games, hack and slashes, things like that, it was easier for me to understand cues. As in, oh, I know what this stack is going to be, and then reacting to it. And for a chess player, I was really bad at planning ahead. Like just there. I understand that Poseidon has a series of attacks that he uses in a type of pattern. If I knew what that pattern was, it would make it a lot easier to fight him. I could plan my healing around which attack he would use next, but instead I basically just heal myself immediately after getting hit by the attack. If I lined up my healing for when he would use Watery Grave, it would actually work out a lot easier. Alright, so in this section, the 2 that I needed the most were Growth for the beginning and Whirlwind to get rid of these things. So here I'm preparing Growth. Yeah, I'm setting Whirlwind, and then I'm setting Growth. This will be another Spirit Ring on my next session. And I'll be going back to recording my audio normally again. Based on my look here, I can clearly see that my mic is working properly, so I won't have to worry about that. There's no way to reach that. It looks like a little section you can run onto, but there's no way to reach it. The distance from that bubbly puddle to the shore there is too high. Too far? Too far. It's still funny to me that this game is set up in such a way that you have warriors and mages, almost like classes, except the only difference is Jenna and Sheba have less HP than everyone else, less attack than everyone else, higher speed, more synergy, but ultimately they're all wizards. All of them, all 4 of them, they're all wizards. And the fact that the main character was raised by a pair of exceptionally powerful wizard warriors and somehow has the least synergy of the entire team makes me laugh. Right, this section is a little bit trippy. A lot of backtracking is going to happen in here. Right, this one. I think this is the first time I actually used Douse in a puzzle like this, which is fun to me. It actually worked on your timing. There's no way to really fail if you just start running properly and you don't fudge it at all. And you can see I managed to run all the way to the end of the of the ledge before it actually starts spitting steam again. So it's really generous with its timing. Pretty sure this is where I was supposed to be. Pouring water on a hot rock. It's actually funny. When I was recording this section, I had a lot of noise interference. But at the time I didn't realize that my mic sensitivity was too low. So what I thought was noise interference was actually no noise at all, and neither was any of my speaking. I made cuts and everything, and none of it was necessary. That was also not necessary, by the way. You can just jump across once you've moved that pillar. Here's Tremor doing its bit again. Straight up helping the economy. I like the implication with these undead that they're a bunch of humans who died in the swamp and then became undead and ghosts. Like, look at this guy. Now look at him die again. Fell is another word that was interesting to me the first time I played this game. You fell a tree. You fell a tree. I guess they didn't want to use the word killed. Even though they definitely used it in a very serious context earlier in the game. It actually bothered me that this was all there was at the end of the dungeon. See? I wanted more. Starter seems like such a petty reward. Some more Calcum would have been nice. Get me Excalibur really early on. I suppose that would have been too much to ask for. No, I never realized Piers got super cool. That's too bad. Yeah, you've been there already. There's only one thing left in this dungeon for me to collect, and that's another gin. That was my first mistake. I think I should have run... Yeah, we started this way. I do a lot of aimless running around in this bit because I completely forgot where I was supposed to be going. I should have just gone right there. Instead, now I'm running aimlessly about in this section. Getting knocked back by steam is really not the most fun way to do stuff. I'll get through. That's why I saved there. This was actually really dangerous. I shouldn't have done this. And I'm still not hitting her. Not my smartest move, but I don't really get any comeuppance for it, so I think it's fine. Oh, nope, she died. Lucky me. This could have ended way worse than it did, though. It's another reason why mixing gin is generally a good idea. You don't want to be stuck without an ability like Revive. It's hilarious how many powerful synergy abilities you actually learn for these people. And that's it. That's the end of the section. Alright. I guess I'll see you next time.